Make Walters your spot before and after Thursday night's concert at Nationals Park. The Jason Aldean and Luke Bryant Double Down Tour begins at 6:15, with Walters located just across the street.
Hi, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Are you looking for a beach read this summer? May I suggest your big wireless bill? It's got suspense, mystery, a slightly flat emotional arc, and a shocking twist where you realize you've been overpaying the entire time. Fortunately, though, Mint's story is better. Every plan, $15 a month, even unlimited. That's it. Happy ending, zero tears. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
Sleep Number's new collections are designed to adapt to the changing nature of your life and your sleep needs. Whether it's the personalized comfort of the Comfort Mode mattress, the targeted pressure relief of the Comfort Next mattress, or the Climate Collection that actively cools or warms to help you fall asleep and stay asleep.
And now, all beds are on sale during our biggest sale of the year. Save 25% on the new Comfort Next Luxe, plus free delivery on any mattress. Ends Monday, only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com.
The 1-2. Swing a long drive left field for Foscue. Lyle back to the track, and it is gone. It's 2-0 Texas. Foscue with home run number 8. Continues to mash left-handed pitching.
Kent comes set. And the 3-0 pitch. And it missed with a fastball. Low and away, ball 4. He walked him on 4 pitches. And that will deliver a run. In from third comes Seager. Nimmo over to third. Duran up to second. RBI for Foscue, his second of the game and 23rd of the year. And it's now the Rangers 4 and the Nationals nothing.
Yeah, I mean, he just never really got off on a good footing. It felt like, right out of the gates, Langford with the base hit and Seager back to back. He never really got his footing. It felt like they got on him pretty quickly, and he had to battle, from the first at bat of the game. Never really had a chance, like I said, to settle in and get going a little bit. And I mean, they scored all their runs in the first 2 innings.
Here comes the pitch. Swinging a fly ball, shallow right, should do it. Brandon Nimmo is under it waiting. Nimmo makes the catch, and the Nationals are shut out 5-0. Only the 4th time this year they've been shut out. The Nationals 0-4 on the road trip. They've dropped 11 of their last 12 road games. Cal Quantrill, 7 shutout innings, his best performance of the season. The Nationals had nothing going offensively in Game 1 of the series in Arlington.
And welcome to Nats Chat. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. I'm joined by Washington Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman of NatsJournal.com. He is at Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas. So the Nats on Tuesday night began a stretch of 16 consecutive days with no off days. 16 games in 16 days. The Nats' next scheduled off day is not until Thursday, September 3rd, and this stretch began with yet another loss. The Nats now are just 5-14 over their last 19 games, a 5-0 loss at the Texas Rangers on Tuesday night in Game 1 of a 3-game series, the 4th shutout loss for the Nats in MLB's 2026 regular season, in which the Nats now are 60-67 with a run differential of plus 13, and now are 8 games behind the San Diego Padres for the National League's 3rd of 3 wildcard spots. Speaking of wildcard standings, how about the Rangers? 62-64, run differential of minus 42, and yet the Rangers have a half-game lead for the American League's 3rd of 3 wildcard spots. Good to have you with us. Hey, the 5th annual Nats Chat podcast party is happening on Friday evening, October 2nd. It's happening at the home base of the Nats Chat podcast, Walters Sports Bar, which is right across the street from Nationals Park. More info on Walters at waltersdc.com. The agent for CJ Abrams, he is not happy with the Nats. We'll get to that coming up in just a bit. But, the Nats, of course, are missing quite a few people, right? The Nats, in the lead up to the 2026 MLB trade deadline, traded away 3 key guys in infielder Curtis Mead, first baseman Luis Garcia Jr., and starting pitcher Foster Griffin. The Nats, the next day, announced having put outfielder James Wood on the 10-day injured list due to a left oblique strain, and it does not appear as if James Wood will be back anytime soon. The Nats right now are reeling. Consider this. The Nats have gone from 2 games above 500 to 7 games below 500 over a period of about 3 weeks. The face of this season, Mark, has been completely transformed, and not in a good way, in just about a 3-week period.
It honestly doesn't feel like you're watching the same team play right now. that we saw for the first 4 months of the season. Offensively, of course, this is just not the same lineup at all. And I guess you shouldn't be surprised when James Wood goes on the IL and you trade two of your other best hitters. But so much of what they did those first 4 months were not just the big name guys, but others contributing as well. And you saw this game here. It was CJ Abrams with a couple of hits and hardly anything else from anybody else in the lineup. So you have that. The rotation is completely different. Now, some of that is dropping some veterans like Michaelis and Littell who weren't that good to begin with. But it just does not feel like you're watching the same team. And to me, the fear would be that these guys understand the situation they're now in. They're not in the race anymore. They're not really competing for this anymore. And you hope it doesn't lead to a bunch of these lifeless performances. Kind of like we saw in this game. This felt, and I feel like we've had a few of these now, much more like a 2024, 2025 playing out the string kind of game than anything that we've seen so far in 2026. Now, maybe it's just a rough stretch. Maybe they're all going to start to get more comfortable being up here and start to look more like themselves again. But right now, I mean, this is kind of a tough watch. This was maybe the least compelling game they've played all year, which I think is saying something.
Well, this becomes an interesting test for the Nats' new baseball operations regime from a culture standpoint, right? We've talked about the improvement in the process and the improvement when it comes to like the analytics and the sports science and how from a baseball perspective, the culture is so improved. But when it comes to, governing a clubhouse and keeping guys motivated and keeping guys engaged, how does this regime do in that regard? And, it's pretty easy to do that when things are going well and your offense is killing it. But in a spot like right now, how does this regime handle guys potentially becoming disengaged? Now, I would say this. There is not a single player on this Nats roster who has earned the right to become disengaged, okay? All of these guys have so much to prove, okay? So, whether you are Brady House or Dylan Cruz or Harry Ford or Dalen Lyle or, yes, CJ Abrams, you should remain engaged and you should remain motivated regardless of where the team is at from a competitiveness standpoint. But yeah, this will be an interesting test for especially manager Blake Butera and his coaching staff here. There's no doubt the offense in this game basically did next to nothing. We'll get to all that's happening with CJ Abrams here momentarily. Cal Quantrill was the opposing starting pitcher in this game. Now, Cal Quantrill, to me, is a guy who, if you say are Brad Lord, you should be looking at and studying and say, okay, interesting what this guy's doing. Cal Quantrill this season is doing really well as a combo starter/reliever for the Texas Rangers. And he in this game tossed 7 scoreless innings with 5 strikeouts versus no walks, lowering his ERA to 3.13 over 26 games, including 9 starts. The Nats for the game, no runs, 7 hits, which were 2 doubles and 5 singles, 1 walk, 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position, 9 strikeouts. You brought this up to an extent with Blake Butera during his postgame session with you guys late night on Tuesday night. But, you basically can tell how the Nats are doing offensively with how many walks they're drawing. And in this game, there was very little walk drawing, 1 walk drawn, and it just was not a good game, not only from a result standpoint, but from a process standpoint for the Nats offense.
Yeah, exactly. I think that 1 walk didn't come till the 9th inning. So that tells you, I didn't keep track, but they may not have even been in a 3-ball count. Or if they were, it was only a couple of times all night. So there was just very little going on from an offensive standpoint. You get the leadoff double from Abrams to start the game. You're thinking, okay, here we go. He snaps out of his 0 for 11 funk that he was in. Now maybe they can get on the board first with something they've done so well this year. And then 3 straight outs pretty quickly, and he's stranded. And then they didn't even take another at-bat with a runner in scoring position until the 8th inning of this game. There were a lot of quick outs. I get it. Quantrill's throwing strikes. You can't force walks if they're not there. But man, it does feel like this is a recurring theme. Not that the lineup has had a ton of these kind of games, but I feel like when they have struggled, it's very often been because they were not working the count. They were not drawing walks, something that they did very well for a good part of this season.
Well, the Nats, as mentioned, did have 2 extra base hits in this game. Andres Chaparro had yet another pinch extra base hit. Chaparro in the top of the 8th, a pinch 2-out ground rule double to left field on a 1-2 pitch. Andres Chaparro at the major league level in this regular season as a pinch hitter. How about this? 20 plate appearances, OPS of 1,226, 5 hits, all of them have been extra base hits, a home run and 4 doubles. And also with an extra base hit for the Nats on Tuesday night was CJ Abrams. He was the Nats starting DH and number 1 batter, went 2 for 4 with a double and a single. This as we have fallout from the big position change. The Nats moving Abrams from being primarily a shortstop to being primarily a second baseman. Of course, Blake Butera during his pregame session with reporters this past Friday afternoon announced that news. And Butera during his pregame session with reporters on Tuesday evening said that Abrams could start at second base as soon as Wednesday night. But the agent of CJ Abrams has spoken publicly. His agent is Mike Sanders of Rock Nation Sports. Sanders said the following to Nats insider Spencer Nussbaum of The Athletic for a piece that came out on Tuesday morning. Quote, "I think first CJ was not thrilled about the decision to move him off shortstop at this time, but his priority is to win games for the Nationals and to be a team-first player. So that is what he's going to do. He's always viewed himself as a shortstop, short-term and long-term, and would love to have the offseason under this front office to be able to work on that. I believe CJ can be a very good shortstop, and without having an offseason to specifically train at the position, using the information and feedback this staff has given him, I don't think we have a full evaluation yet of how good he can truly be there." End quote. So I don't know about you. I would not say that these comments were Mike Sanders like ripping the Nats. The comments, though, pretty clearly were Mike Sanders pushing back on the Nats, moving Abrams from being primarily a shortstop to being primarily a second baseman. And Sanders, of course, was speaking for his client, was speaking for CJ Abrams. How do you interpret not only what Sanders said here, but that he was willing to go public here with what he said?
I don't think anybody should be surprised. I mean, we discussed this the other day about how Abrams reacted to it. And while he maybe didn't say it publicly in quite as explicit terms as his agent did, I think it was kind of clear reading between the lines how he felt about it. He said more than once, like, he considers himself a shortstop. And yes, he's willing to make this move, but it doesn't sound like it's exactly something he's embracing. So I don't think that we should be surprised by any of it. I think there is going to be a lot of conversations between all the parties here about how best to approach this moving forward. I mean, look, the decision has been made. They're not backtracking on that, and it's just up to him to kind of say, okay, I'm going to do the best I can at this. I thought maybe the most interesting part of it was the suggestion that he's going to do this for the rest of the season, but then afterwards he might still go to work on shortstop again in the offseason going into next season. And I don't get the sense that that is what the Nationals are envisioning. So I don't know what to make of that, except to say that it's pretty clear that CJ Abrams thinks of himself as a shortstop, still believes there's some chance that he could play shortstop in the major leagues. But in the meantime, he was out there working at second base pregame on Tuesday. We'll see. I think Blake Butera, I think he's taking the right approach to this and saying he's not just going to pick a date and say, yes, you're going to play it on this date. He needs to see that Abrams looks comfortable there and that he's admittedly ready to do it. And they're going to trust that CJ tells them when he's ready. Now, I think they would like it to be sooner rather than later, but I don't think they're just going to force this on him if he gives a compelling reason to suggest that he's not all there for it. I hope it happens on Wednesday because I think it's time to move on now. It's enough talking. Let's go see what happens when he actually plays there. But we'll see. I was glad to see him get a couple of hits in this game after that really rough weekend in New York. Just seeing him in the clubhouse and on the field before the game, he seemed like he was in a good mood. Everything seemed like back to normal as far as that goes. I think it's now time to stop talking about it and start seeing how he does playing second base.
Well, it stands out that CJ Abrams, who rarely DHs, has been used as a DH lately. And it seems like that has been utilized as like a transition spot for Abrams in the lineup as he navigates this move from being primarily a shortstop to being primarily a second baseman. So I think we should make something clear. when a player's agent goes on record like this, that's not a good sign, okay? That's never like a sign that things are good. An agent does this when things are not good, when there is discontent, when there is disappointment / anger / some sort of negative feeling or emotion, okay? So, like, it's not a good sign that Abrams' agent went on the record like this. I promise you, the president of baseball operations for your Washington Nationals, Paul Taboni, is not happy that Mike Sanders did that. I do respect the fact that Abrams wants to remain a shortstop. I think that's good. That's healthy. Like, you want your best players to want to play the best positions. The fact that he believes that he can be a better shortstop, I think is good. You know, there was, I thought, an acknowledgement in what Sanders said that Abrams does need to improve defensively at shortstop. So it's not like Abrams and Sanders are in denial about Abrams being bad defensively at shortstop. I thought that was good and should be recognized. But, you know, I've had this thought because I know that there has been a lot of criticism of the Nats for making this change now as opposed to this coming off season. And for those who haven't read it, Mark wrote a really compelling piece about this on natsjournal.com. But because the offseason may not be a normal offseason because of the looming CBA Armageddon, and because 2027 Washington National spring training may be shortened if it happens at all, could it be that a driving factor for the Nats making this change now is that the Nats don't know what kind of an offseason we're going to have, don't know what kind of a 2027 spring training the team is going to have. And so why not take advantage of the final 6 weeks of this season? And instead of having Abrams play a position that the team no longer wants Abrams having as his primary position, get the ball rolling now. Have Abrams play second base now, because we have no idea what this offseason is going to be. We have no idea what spring training is going to be. We could wind up with some condensed 2-week version of spring training. And then what if you haven't yet started the process of transitioning Abrams to second base? I really wonder how much the CBA scenario has played into the Nats enacting this change now.
Yeah, that argument was presented to me by some people with the team as you know, one of a number of different reasons that they, you know, could make the case for why they're doing it now. And even beyond that, you got to remember the way these lockouts work. Starting December 1st, assuming that it does happen, there's no contact allowed between the team and their players. So they can give all the players an outline of what they're expected to do workout-wise over the remainder of the offseason until the lockout is lifted, but they can't check in with them at any point. They can't go work with them, even on a high school field somewhere. You cannot have any actual contact between team employees and the players while a lockout is going on. And so that was another part of that argument. And it's compelling. And as I tried to write, it's not like there is any perfect time to make this move. There's reasons for and against doing it now. There are reasons for and against doing it back spring training coming into this year. And there's reasons for and against waiting to do it this winter. I think the Nationals understood that there was no perfect answer to this and felt like we might as well do it now, give him a chance to maybe try to get comfortable with it, see how he does with it. Maybe at the end of the 6 weeks of the season, they're like, you know what, he really isn't any better at second base, or maybe it works out fantastically and now you're off and running going into next year. Maybe it impacts the way other teams might be interested in him if there's some trade discussions, perhaps, before or after a lockout. So I think there are a lot of factors that they're trying to consider in all of this. My argument, and we had it the other day on the podcast as well, was he's having this great season. He's not really hurting them defensively. I know the numbers are bad, but it's not like he's been costing them games with his defense. We know how he slumps in the second half in the past. Why throw a wrench into all that for a team that's already out of contention now? Why not let him play out the season, put up as big a numbers as he can, and then address this later on? I think there's a valid argument for that. That was the case I was making, but I can understand the arguments why it made more sense to do it now. And this really boils down to, how does he do? Both from a mental standpoint, how does he handle it? How does he let it or not let it affect the rest of his game? And then how does he actually perform out there? We keep talking as if it's a foregone conclusion that he's going to play second base and everything's going to be great. We don't know. We don't know how he's going to play there. By the way, the Nats middle infield in this game, not real clean. Nunez at short, Bibas at second. it was not a crisp performance from them either. And so I think there's a lot of questions about what this is really going to look like once they do it. Is it going to make the team better or not defensively?
I think there's also this, too. If you are Paul Taboni and you do have legitimate interest in signing CJ Abrams to a long-term contract extension, don't you want to have seen him at the position that you want him to be playing primarily, second base, before you go into this offseason potentially pursuing a contract extension with CJ Abrams? Now, if you're going to trade him, then maybe it doesn't matter so much. But if Taboni legitimately would like to sign Abrams to an extension but wants him as a second baseman, don't you want to see that before you really get serious about extension talks this coming offseason? You know, I would think that that's a factor here as well. But something tells me we're not done hearing commentary on this issue, that we're only getting going here with what people have to say and how people feel about this transition.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I said I hope he does play second base on Wednesday so we can just actually talk about how he did and get his thoughts on all that. And just to follow up on that last point you made about potential contract extensions, I don't know that they're making this move thinking that this is a sign that they want to sign him long term. I don't know if that's true or not. We still don't know to what extent ownership is interested or willing to commit to anybody right now. But I think there's even just a baseball question of, in theory, you only have so many of these you can hand out. Is he one of the ones that they want to do that with? I know he's been phenomenal for them, but we've kind of known all along he's got a couple years. They've got all these other young middle infielders in the pipeline coming up. Even in a best case scenario where he played great, it may not be something that they really believe is the right move for them to lock him up long term. They may feel like they have better and cheaper options coming up and that money is better spent, whether it's trying to retain James Wood or sign Cade Cavalli or sign some other free agent down the road. And we don't really know where their mind is as far as that goes.
We don't. Cavalli and Wood are under team control for multiple seasons to come. With Wood, it's very possible, if not probable, that ship has sailed and that you're not signing him to an extension with how good he is. And what's so interesting about Abrams is that he is so young. This is only his age 25 season. And so, he is the kind of guy who, if you believe in him as a player, you do sign him because he is so young. You're not signing him as he goes into his 30s here. You could lock him up now for 5, 6, 7 years. And when the contract is up, he's still only in his early 30s. There's also this, too, with Abrams. He's never had a season like this offensively. This is by far the best offseason he's ever had. Does Taboni believe this is who Abrams is? Or does Taboni want to see more? Or does Taboni view this as an outlier season for CJ Abrams? Because the offensive force he's been this season, that is not who he was prior to this season. Maybe this is now who he is, and he has blossomed into the player who he was drafted to be. Or maybe CJ Abrams never again has a season this good. That's another item in all of this.
But I think that's why these final 6 weeks are so important. He's got to show that he can finish strong and keep that up for a whole year, something he has not done in the past. He's had stretches that were really good in the past, but never over the long haul, and certainly not in the second half. And so if that is something that Taboni and company want to see, these next 6 weeks, I think, are critical, no matter what position he's playing, that he show that he can be this kind of elite kind of offensive player for the full 6 months.
Al Galdi here to tell you about Window Nation. But before that, the Window Nation look into the future.
The 0-1. Cracked high in the air and deep to left field. Waters turns around. That ball's gone. Caden Wallace saw to the left field berm. A solo shot to keep the Red Wings in this ball game. It's Omaha 6, Rochester 4 here in the 6th inning. Wallace homers against his former organization.
Hey, Al Galdi here for Window Nation. If you're using chat to research your next home improvement project, forget the prompts. We've got all the details on a company that you can trust. For replacement windows and doors without the hassle, just look up Window Nation. Window Nation is the real deal. Homeowners across the country love the one-day installation process, especially since Window Nation installers leave your home cleaner than when they started. And this month, you can get 50% off all window styles, plus 0 down, 0 interest, and no payments for 2 years. That's a lot of savings on top of quality windows and doors. 866-90Nation or windownation.com, and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast. Window Nation, the real deal when it comes to replacement windows and doors. 866-90Nation, windownation.com, and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast.
Did you know that driving under the influence of marijuana is illegal? Driving high will get you a DUI. And if you're wondering if law enforcement can tell you're driving high, well, everyone else can. Friends?
I can tell you drove high.
Parents?
I can tell when you drive high.
Relatives?
I can tell. You drove here high, didn't you?
So what makes you think law enforcement can't?
I can tell.
If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
Sleep Number's new collections are designed to adapt to the changing nature of your life and your sleep needs. Whether it's the personalized comfort of the Comfort Mode mattress, the targeted pressure relief of the Comfort Next mattress, or the Climate Collection that actively cools or warms to help you fall asleep and stay asleep.
And now, all beds are on sale during our biggest sale of the year. Save 25% on the new Comfort Next Luxe, plus free delivery on any mattress. Ends Monday, only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com.
Meet the Red Bull Dragonberry Energizer. It's one of the many new drinks out now. Who knew ice-cold drinks could be so fire? Try them all, only at McDonald's.
And the pitch. Berger hits a ground ball toward short. Nunez has it to second for one. Bibas turned to first. The stretch by Ortiz. They get the out and the double play, and a run will score, and the Rangers lead 1-0. So the Nationals conceding a run to get the double play. They turn the double play. And so with 2 outs, the base is empty. 1 run in for Texas.
Well, the Nats starting pitcher on Tuesday night was Jackson Kent. He, in his second career MLB regular season game, allowed 5 runs in 3 2/3 innings. He gave up 8 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 6 singles, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. But boy, he threw a ton of pitches. He, over his mere 3 2/3 innings, threw 84 pitches, 51 strikes, 33 balls. So it was last Wednesday afternoon, August 12th, that the Nats announced having selected the contract of Kent from AAA Rochester and having designated pitcher Miles Michaelis for assignment. Kent, in the Nats' 12-6 loss to the Chicago Cubs at Nationals Park last Wednesday evening, 3 runs in 4 innings. That was the official line. He only gave up 3 hits, but he issued 5 walks, did have 6 strikeouts, but he in that game threw a ton of pitches, 78 pitches, just 37 strikes, 41 balls. Nobody is going to arrive at any full definitive judgment on Jackson Kent off 2 outings at the major league level here, but the results so far a bit rough. And, you know, what stands out maybe as much as anything, 8 walks in 7 2/3 innings, having a hard time finding the strike zone.
And that's not who he was in the minor leagues. He was a strike thrower. And so I suppose you could look at that 2 ways. You could say, man, he doesn't look ready for this level. He's not able to get away with the kind of stuff that he did in the minor leagues, and big league hitters are going to lay off those kind of pitches. Or you can say, that's not really who he is. And so just give him a little time. It's probably some nerves here for his first 2 starts. And eventually he's going to turn back into the pitcher that they had seen in the minors. It has been pretty glaring, though. And he was a little bit better in this one, at least at throwing first pitch strikes and getting ahead of hitters, which he was awful in that first start against the Cubs. But what was notable in this one is once it kind of started to go south, he lost it there for a while. You have in the 3rd inning, there's a close play at the plate. They do a long replay review. The call doesn't go their way. He then proceeds to walk the next 2 batters on a total of 8 pitches, the second of them with the bases loaded to force in a run. It was like he couldn't flip that switch back on. And I think that would be, a bit of a concern that that's the case. He basically was pitching out of trouble the entire night, gives up 2 singles to lead off the first inning, has to get a double play to get out of that one, gives up a homer in the second, gives up 3 more runs in the third. I guess the 4th inning was all right. He got the first 2 outs, then gave up 2 more singles. It just was an uphill climb throughout, and it's only 2 starts. You don't want to read a whole lot into that and make, sweeping claims. But I would just say that for a kid who's only drafted 2 years ago, he does not necessarily look like he's ready for this assignment yet. I don't think they're going to move on from him They need all the starting pitching they can get right now, and they're in a position you might as well give it a shot. But he's going to have to make some significant progress here the next couple times out and show that he can get ahead of hitters, that he can put hitters away, that he can avoid these long innings. It's really been a grind for him these first 2 starts.
Yeah, the Nats took Kent in the 4th round of the 2024 MLB first-year player draft out of the University of Arizona. This is his age 23 season. He's not a supremely well-regarded pitching prospect. He was relatively well-regarded in the Nats farm system, but this is not a guy who was like a top 100 prospect or anything like that. The Nats did get good relief pitching in this game. 2 Nats relievers combined for 4 1/3 shutout innings. Trevor Williams is good. 3 1/3 scoreless innings, 5 strikeouts, 1 walk. He had the clunker in his previous outing on August 12th. But other than that, he's since coming off the 60-day injured list, has done well. And Yovanny Cruz, so he off his debacle of a previous outing, it had been said that the Nats wanted to get him into some lower leverage spots. Blake Butera certainly had said that. Well, Cruz found himself in such a spot in this game and did do well. Scoreless bottom of the 8th, despite giving up a leadoff single. And I wonder for how long we'll see this with Cruz, but this seemed to be more well-suited for where he is at right now. A lower leverage spot, maybe regain some confidence, regain trust in the fastball, and maybe try again at some point down the line with higher leverage appearances.
Well, that was the key. Did you notice his first 4 pitches were all fastballs? First 2 were balls, then he threw a couple strikes, and he went to the off speed and gave up a hit. But it was clear that they were telling him, throw your fastball, don't just trust the other stuff. And while there's still a little bit of a work in progress, he did get out of it without any damage, got a double play grounder. And yeah, he needed a game like this. If there's a positive to losing a game 5-0, which you were pretty much out of it the whole way, it was nice that they actually had a low leverage spot that they could get him back in there and see what he could do. Now let's see what he can do with that. And can he apply any progress that he makes in low leverage spots into success in higher leverage spots at some point.
Game 2 for the Nats at the Rangers Wednesday night at 8:05. The Nats have listed Cade Cavalli as their probable starting pitcher for this game. Not many bright spots for the Nats lately, but Cade Cavalli has remained one. We'll see how he does on Wednesday night, and we will see if CJ Abrams on Wednesday night is the Nats starting second baseman. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. Find us on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email us, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat, courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast.
And it was wide to the first pitch. High drive into deep left field. Drew Waters just puts his hands on his hips and watches that ball sail over the berm and gone for a loud, long solo home run. Seaver King hits it over everything in left field and doubles the Rochester lead to 2-0 in the top of the third inning.
Sleep Number's new collections are designed to adapt to the changing nature of your life and your sleep needs. Whether it's the personalized comfort of the Comfort Mode mattress, the targeted pressure relief of the Comfort Next mattress, or the Climate Collection that actively cools or warms to help you fall asleep and stay asleep.
And now, all beds are on sale during our biggest sale of the year. Save 25% on the new Comfort Next Luxe, plus free delivery on any mattress. Ends Monday, only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com.
Meet the Red Bull Dragonberry Energizer. It's one of the many new drinks out now. Who knew ice-cold drinks could be so fire? Try them all, only at McDonald's.